Tennis great Venus Williams calls Filipino tennis ace Alex Eala as her best partner. The 21-year-old Eala and the 46-year-old Williams teamed up for the first time to compete in Bad Homburg Open in Germany. They reached the quarterfinal round of the tournament. Despite the exit,
Venus Williams has done it again. She has silenced the doubters, ignored the noise, and answered every single critic in the loudest way possible. Not with words, but with action. Because right now, as we speak, Venus Williams is back on the practice court with Alex Eala, grinding, drilling, and building real chemistry ahead of their doubles run at the Washington, D.C. Open. And if you were one of the people who said the Bad Homburg run was a fluke, one of the people who doubted whether this pairing was serious, well, this next chapter is about to prove you completely wrong. Let's start with what we actually know, because this is confirmed, this is official, and this is happening. Venus Williams and Alex Eala are locked in as a doubles team for the 2026 Mubadala DC Open in Washington. The tournament's own official channels announced it, calling them the Dream Team, and both players have now been spotted hitting the practice court together, preparing for the hard court swing. This is not a rumor. This is not speculation. This is a 46-year-old 7-time Grand Slam singles champion and 14-time Grand Slam doubles champion deliberately choosing, to reunite with a 21-year-old rising star from the Philippines. And after everything the critics said following Bad Homburg, that decision alone speaks volumes. Remember, when Venus and Eala first teamed up on the grass in Bad Homburg last month, nobody knew what to expect. Two players who had never competed together, thrown onto the same side of the net. And what happened? They clicked. They reached the quarterfinals. They showed flashes of something special. But then the run ended, and the doubters came out swinging, saying it was all instinct, all raw talent, and that without real preparation it would never hold up. Well, Venus heard all of that. And instead of firing back with a statement, she did something far more powerful. She got back on the court and started training. Here is the part that the haters really don't want to hear. The one criticism that actually had some weight, the idea that Venus and Eala never trained together before Bad Homburg, is the exact criticism Venus is now demolishing. Because this time, it is completely different. This time, the two of them are putting in dedicated practice hours before the tournament even begins. Footage has surfaced of Eala and Williams on the practice court, strategizing, running through their positioning, and even sharpening their game against a pair of men to raise the intensity. That is not two players relying on a lucky first-round win. That is two serious competitors laying a real foundation. And think about what that means. In Bad Homburg, this pairing reached the quarterfinals with almost zero preparation, running purely on chemistry and instinct. If that is what they can do off raw talent alone, imagine what they can do now, with real reps, real communication drills, and real on-court familiarity behind them. That is the message Venus is sending to every skeptic out there. She is not brushing off what happened. She is addressing it head-on. She acknowledged that the two of them simply did not have time to sync up properly before Bad Homburg, and she made it clear that this time would be different, that they would put in the work, build genuine partnership chemistry, and come into Washington prepared. And now we are watching her follow through on exactly that promise. So let's talk about why. Why would a living legend like Venus Williams, someone with a career spanning more than 3 decades, someone who has shared the court with her sister Serena to win 14 Grand Slam doubles titles and 3 Olympic gold medals, choose a 21-year-old as her partner? Because Venus does not do anything by accident. Venus has watched countless players come through this sport. She has seen the talented ones burn bright and fade. And when she looks at Alex Eala, she clearly sees something more than a big forehand or a heavy serve. She sees the full package, the mindset, the work ethic, the character. And the respect goes both ways. Eala herself has spoken about what it was like to share the court with a player she grew up admiring, saying it was an incredible experience, that Venus has a special work ethic and a special mindset, and that despite being who she is, Venus is remarkably down to earth. That is a young player who understands the moment. That is a young player who is soaking up everything she can from a legend. And that is exactly the kind of attitude that makes Venus want to invest her time. This is not charity. This is not a publicity stunt. Venus sees a serious competitor who carries herself the right way. And in a sport where so much can go wrong off the court, that grounded, respectful, hard-working mentality is worth its weight in gold. Now here is where the haters part really comes in. Because let's be honest, Alex Eala has had her critics. As her profile has exploded this year, a wave of skepticism came with it. Some people questioned the hype. Some people rolled their eyes at the so-called Eala mania. And every time a young player rises this fast, the doubters line up to say she can't sustain it. But the results keep answering for her. This has been a remarkable 2026 campaign for Eala. She captured the biggest title of her career at the Birmingham WTA 125, reached the semifinals in Berlin, and then produced one of Wimbledon's biggest shocks by defeating former champion Iga Swiatek on her way to the fourth round. That is not hype. That is not a fluke. That is a 21-year-old delivering on the sport's biggest stages. And she has had big names in her corner too. Even Andy Roddick pushed back against the criticism of the Eala hype, essentially saying he did not want to hear any of the negativity, that this is a genuine movement, not a passing trend. So when people talk about Eala's doubters, understand that the pushback against them has been just as loud. Now add Venus Williams to that list of believers, because there is no bigger endorsement in tennis than a legend of Venus's stature saying, in effect, "I want to build something real with this player." Every hour Venus spends on that practice court with Eala is a statement that this young star is the real deal, and that the doubters got it wrong. And make no mistake, Washington is no easy draw. The doubles field is stacked. The top seeds feature Sara Errani, a 10-time Grand Slam champion across doubles and mixed, alongside former Wimbledon mixed doubles champion Nicole Melechar-Martinez. The defending champion is also back in the field, so if Venus and Eala want to make a statement, they are going to have to earn it against elite competition. But that is exactly the point. A prepared, rehearsed, in-sync version of this partnership is a genuinely dangerous team. And both players are pulling double duty, competing in singles as well as doubles, using Washington as a launchpad into the North American hardcourt swing and the build-up to the US Open. For Venus, this is also part of her ongoing comeback, a chance to gather competitive matches on a court where she has enjoyed real success before, including her most recent tour-level singles win. For Eala, it is her return to competition after that historic Wimbledon run. Two players, both hungry, both motivated, both with something to prove. So here is the bottom line. The critics said the chemistry was luck. The doubters said the pairing would not last. And Venus Williams answered them the only way a champion knows how, by showing up, putting in the work, and training with Alex Eala ahead of Washington. The raw talent was always there. Now the preparation is there too. And that should terrify the rest of the doubles draw. If you want to see whether this dream team can turn practice court chemistry into real results, keep it locked here. Drop a comment telling me how far you think Venus and Eala go in Washington. Smash that like button, subscribe for every update on this partnership, and I'll see you in the next one.